Right now, they're very pleased to have with us on the program Rick Ector from Rick's Firearm Academy of Detroit. How you doing tonight, Rick?
Hey, I'm great, Cam. How are you doing this fine evening?
I'm good. Things are okay there in Detroit right now,
Define
relatively
okay.
speaking,
Things are normal here in Detroit.
which may not be
But
normal too many other places.
unfortunately, that's the situation we have. Crime here is out of control, and it looks like things have the potential to get worse. But, to answer your question, it's normal.
You know, we saw this story late last night. Thieves held at gunpoint in Detroit get away. A ride to carry holder named Marvin Dinna ended up stumbling on two individuals who were robbing his family's business. Like I said, he's a concealed carry holder. He had two guns on him. He ended up holding both guns at both would-be robbers while his cousin called 911. And apparently, 90 minutes later, Rick, the police had not arrived. And ultimately, both of the bad guys ran away. And Marvin, couldn't hold him. I mean, he just kept waiting for the police. Has this been a big story in Detroit yesterday and today?
It has gotten a lot of coverage here locally, but I mean, sad to say, no one here is surprised. Many people will say, "Man, 90 minutes, that's a long amount of time." But when you hear 90 minutes and you know it's, here locally in Detroit, you chalk it up and you say, "Okay, I believe it." It's not far-fetched. The police department here has been woefully understaffed and under-facilitized, for years, and their numbers have the potential to decrease even further with this specter of receivership that we're looking at here in the city of Detroit. They're
Mm-hmm.
talking about as many as 2,300 public service employees being laid off, and anywhere up to 500 cops being laid off. So, as bad as things are, they can be worse. As far as police response time being deficient, even on a priority call, nothing new there. Some things that we experience on a day-to-day basis would be people calling 911 here in the city of Detroit. And due to all the cuts that we've had, for people to be put on hold or to have to listen to a recording before they can actually talk with a 911 operator. So, I mean,
Wow.
when, you guys from, across the nation hear of such things, it sounds unacceptable, but these are some of the things that we've been dealing with for quite some time.
And I mean, I ran across another story from the Detroit area. I guess Warren, Michigan. The Van Dyke Public Schools today were closed because somebody stole all of the batteries from from the buses, so the buses couldn't drive. It just seems like, Rick, beyond the specific crimes, what you're starting to see, or maybe even what you've seen in Detroit for a while, is just this general um, breakdown in terms of people acting between right and wrong. It just seems like more and more you are seeing a city that has a core of good people who are law abiding, and then maybe a larger pool of those who are indifferent, and then sadly a growing pool, it seems, of people who are willing to operate outside of the boundaries of the law.
Well, I like to believe that that perception or that percentage of people who choose to act outside of the law aren't that large. It's just that as a region, we're not really addressing it and dealing with it. I mean, yeah, we closing down prisons. We're letting people go out of prison early. They just ran a spot on the news just yesterday about this one particular guy who, it engaged in some assaultive behavior, something that we would hope would merit him a stay behind bars until this case gets disposition. But, I mean, he's on a tether out on the street. We have a lot of violent people who are, in the system, pending charges out on bond for violent offenses. And with regards to crime in general, I mean, as things get worse or deteriorate here, you're going to see a lot more property crime, such as the situation out in Warren with the vandalism of the buses that, sidelined the school for the day. You're going to have people that are going to vandalize buildings, people that are going to strip things off of homes. home invasions. That particular business we talked about earlier, it was an invasion. They just didn't imagine that two of the people that owned the property would be there. I don't think that they meant the home invade, but they came in without permission and with the intent to burglarize, and then lo and behold, there's two people there. So, the citizen did what he could do. He drew his guns that he lawfully carried and was holding them at gunpoint. It's just the reality that when you call Detroit police, they may not show up.
Well, yeah, sadly, that is the case. Now, let me ask you, Rick, is this translating to more people understanding that they need to be responsible for their own security and their own safety in the Detroit area?
Definitely, it's definitely translating in the fact that, under normal circumstances, the police can't be there. And with things getting worse from a crime perspective and with, the specter of having even fewer law enforcement officers on the job, people are responding. They are calling. They are curious about taking on a more active role in the personal protection, and that's good news because, I personally I get sick and tired of hearing people being victimized, being home invaded, being robbed, or being carjacked. I mean, enough is enough.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's not that this is anything new. We've known for some time now that ultimately it is up to us to protect ourselves. The police don't have a responsibility to protect us as individuals. We've known that ever since Castle Rock versus Gonzalez was decided by the Supreme Court a few years ago. But in a case like Detroit, where the lack of the ability or the lack of the city's ability to actually provide even these basic services, and like you said, it looks like it's just going to get worse. I would remind people, not just in the Detroit area, but all around the country, how important it is for you to be able to protect yourself.
Definitely. And when it's so bad that you can't even cover all the things that happen in the paper, and then the things that you hear about are just so heinous and atrocious that you wonder at what point are we all going to get numb at hearing such things. And I do want to point out that it is very bad in Detroit and the surrounding suburbs and the region. Crime is bad, and we all need to just take it upon ourselves to exercise more involvement in our safety, and at the very least, protect your home and protect your family, and have a means of protecting yourself until law enforcement can get there if they do show up.
Well, listen, Rick, glad you could join us on the program tonight, sir. Appreciate your time, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again very soon.
All right, then, great. I appreciate being on as always. Give my regards to Mr. Gray and Mr. Pop.
All right, sure will. Rick Ector joining us from Rick's Firearm Academy in Detroit, Michigan.